The stars burned with the light of 1,000 dying ships. In the dark space near the third planet of the Kepler system, two massive fleets faced each other like ancient warriors preparing for battle. The war had been going on for 3 long years, and both sides were tired of fighting, but neither side would give up. Commander Tsar stood on the bridge of his flagship, watching the enemy fleet through the large viewing screen. His forearms moved across the control panels as he checked his ship's weapons one more time. The hegemony had sent him here with 200 of their best warships. Today he would either win this war or die trying. "Sir, all ships report ready for battle," his weapons officer said. The young soldier's voice shook slightly. Even after 3 years of war, the sight of so many enemy ships still scared the crew. Tsar's species had been space travelers for over 1,000 years. They had built a great empire that stretched across 50-star systems, but they had never fought a war like this one. Wars were supposed to be quick and clean. A few battles, some negotiations, and then peace. This war was different. It went on and on, bleeding both sides dry. On the other side of the battlefield, Admiral Velnara of the Free Worlds Alliance checked her own fleet. She had fought Tsar many times before. They knew each other's tactics well. Both commanders were skilled, both were determined, and both knew that today's battle would decide everything. "Enemy fleet is holding position," her sensor operator reported. "They're waiting for us to make the first move." Nara smiled. Her blue skin turned slightly purple when she was amused. After 3 years of fighting the hegemony, she had learned to read their patterns. Tsar was careful and smart. He would not attack until he was sure he could win. The Alliance fleet spread out in a wide formation. Their ships were sleek and fast, built for hit-and-run attacks. The hegemony ships were bigger and stronger, designed to stand and fight. Both fleets had advantages. Both fleets had weaknesses. Between the two fleets, empty space waited. In a few minutes, that space would be filled with energy beams, missiles, and exploding ships. Thousands of soldiers would die. Maybe tens of thousands. Both commanders knew this, but they also knew they had no choice. The war had gone too far to stop now. Tsar looked at the tactical display. His ships outnumbered the enemy slightly, but Nara was tricky. She might have ships hiding nearby, ready to jump into the battle at the worst moment. He had learned not to trust what his sensors showed him. "Begin the attack pattern," he ordered. "All ships advance on my command." The hegemony fleet started moving forward slowly. Their big ships stayed in tight formation, protecting each other with overlapping shields. It was an old tactic, but it worked. The Alliance would have to come to them, or watch their home planets burn. Nara saw the enemy movement and nodded. This was exactly what she expected. "Signal all ships," she said. "Execute Plan 7. The Alliance fleet split into 3 groups. The main force would hit the enemy head-on, while 2 smaller groups attacked from the sides. It was risky, but it was their only chance against the stronger hegemony ships. Both fleets moved closer to each other. The space between them grew smaller and smaller. Weapons charged up, ready to fire. Shields powered up to maximum strength. In the ships, soldiers said prayers to their gods and thought about home. Then something impossible happened. "Sir," the sensor officer on Tsar's ship suddenly shouted, "New contact. Unknown ship approaching from Sector 7. Tsar spun around. "What? Show me." The main screen changed to show a new ship at the edge of the system. It was small compared to the warships in both fleets. Its design was strange and blocky, not like anything in their databases. Most surprising of all, it seemed to be alone. On the Alliance flagship, Nara got the same report. "One ship?" she asked. "Are you sure?" "Yes, Admiral, just one ship. It's moving toward us at low speed. Design is completely unknown." Both commanders stared at their screens. In the middle of the biggest space battle in 3 years, a mystery ship had appeared. Who were they? What did they want? And why would anyone fly a single ship into a war zone? "Could it be a new hegemony weapon?" Nara asked her officers. "No," her science officer replied. "The ship's technology is different from both our fleets. The engine signature is completely unknown." Tsar was thinking the same thing. "It's not one of ours," he told his crew. "But it's not Alliance either. Something new has entered our war." The unknown ship kept coming closer. It showed no signs of weapons charging or shields powering up. It just flew steadily toward the 2 fleets as if it belonged there. For the first time in 3 years of war, both commanders faced the same problem. They had been ready to fight each other. They knew each other's ships, weapons, and tactics, but this new ship changed everything. "Sir, what are your orders?" Tsar's weapons officer asked. Tsar looked at the Alliance fleet, then at the mystery ship. The war could wait a few more minutes. He needed to know who these newcomers were and what they wanted. "Hold position," he ordered. "All ships stand ready, but do not fire. We have a new player in our game." Across the battlefield, Velnara gave similar orders. For the first time in months, both fleets stopped trying to kill each other. Instead, they watched and waited as the small, strange ship approached. Neither commander knew it yet, but their war was about to change forever. The galaxy was about to meet humanity. Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UNS Independence and watched the stars change as his ship dropped out of faster-than-light travel. After 6 months of traveling through empty space, they had finally reached their destination. The Kepler system was supposed to be empty, just another star with planets that might support life someday. "Jump complete, Captain," said Chief Engineer Lisa Park from her station. "All systems normal. We're at the edge of the Kepler system." Jake nodded and looked around his bridge. His crew of 45 people had volunteered for this mission, knowing they might never see Earth again. They were humanity's first deep space explorers, sent to find new worlds and maybe new life. The United Nations had built only 5 ships like the Independence. This was humanity's biggest step into the galaxy. "Ryan, start scanning the system," Jake ordered his tactical officer. "Let's see what we found." Ryan Cole was a former Navy officer who had joined the space program when Earth's governments finally agreed to work together on space exploration. His fingers moved across his control panel as the ship's sensors reached out into the new system. "Captain, I'm getting some strange readings," Ryan said after a few minutes. His voice sounded worried. "There are a lot of energy signatures in this system, way more than there should be." Jake walked over to Ryan's station. On the screen, dozens of bright dots showed up near the system's inner planets. Each dot represented something big and powerful. "Amy, can you make sense of this?" Jake asked. Communications specialist Amy Foster was the youngest member of the bridge crew. She had learned 12 Earth languages and helped design the translation computers they hoped to use if they ever met aliens. Now she was looking at readings that made no sense. "Captain, those energy signatures are moving," Amy said. "They're not planets or asteroids, they're ships, lots of ships." The bridge went quiet. Everyone knew what this meant. They had hoped to find alien life, but they had found something much bigger. They had found an alien war. "How many ships?" Jake asked. Ryan checked his readings again. "I count at least 400, sir, maybe more. They're in 2 large groups facing each other near the 3rd planet." Dr. Helen Cruz, the mission's science officer, looked up from her station. She had been studying the star charts when the ship arrived. Now she was looking at something that would change human history forever. "Captain, this appears to be a battle formation," Helen said. "Both groups of ships are positioned for combat. We may have arrived in the middle of an active war zone." Jake felt his heart beat faster. Earth had sent them to explore and maybe make peaceful contact with any aliens they found. Nobody had prepared them for walking into the middle of an alien war. "Lisa, how fast can we get out of here if we need to?" Jake asked. Lisa checked her engine displays. "The jump drive needs 30 minutes to recharge, Captain. We're stuck here until then." Jake looked at the tactical display again. 400 alien warships. His ship had some defensive weapons, but nothing that could fight a real space battle. The Independence was built for exploration, not war. "Sir," Amy said quietly, "I'm picking up communications between the 2 fleets. The computer is trying to translate, but it's very difficult. They seem to be preparing for battle." Jake had to make a decision. He could order his crew to hide at the edge of the system and wait for the jump drive to recharge. Then they could return to Earth with news of alien life, or he could try to make contact and risk his ship and crew. "Captain," Dr. Cruz said, "this is the most important moment in human history. We're the first humans to encounter alien intelligence. What we do here could determine how humanity's future unfolds." Jake knew she was right. Earth's leaders had sent them out here to represent all of humanity. They had hoped for peaceful first contact, but they had found something more complicated. "Amy, prepare a general broadcast," Jake ordered. "Mathematical sequences, basic physics, anything that shows we're intelligent and peaceful." "Yes, sir," Amy replied. She started working on a message that any intelligent species should be able to understand. "Ryan, move us closer, but keep us away from both fleets," Jake said. "I want them to see us, but I don't want to look threatening." "Captain, are you sure about this?" Lisa asked. "We don't know anything about these aliens. They might shoot first and ask questions later." Jake looked at his crew. They were scared, but they trusted him. They had all volunteered for this mission, knowing it was dangerous. Now the danger was real. "We came out here to meet aliens," Jake said. "Well, we found them. If we run away now, we might never get another chance. Earth needs to know what's out here." The Independence moved slowly toward the 2 alien fleets. As they got closer, the ship's sensors picked up more details. The alien ships were huge and powerful. Some were bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their technology looked far ahead of Earth's. "Captain, one of the fleets is changing position," Ryan reported. "Some of their ships are turning toward us." Jake felt sweat on his forehead. This was it. Humanity's first contact with alien life was about to happen in the middle of someone else's war. "Amy, start broadcasting our message," Jake ordered. "Let them know we come in peace." As the message went out, Jake wondered if he had just made the best or worst decision in human history. In a few minutes, they would find out how aliens reacted to meeting humans for the first time. The Independence flew on toward its date with destiny, carrying the hopes and fears of an entire species into the unknown. Commander Czar watched the strange ship move closer to his fleet. The unknown vessel was small and crude-looking compared to his warships. Its hull was thick and blocky, with none of the elegant curves that marked advanced spacecraft design. Whoever built it clearly knew very little about proper engineering. "Sir, the alien ship is broadcasting some kind of signal," his communications officer reported. "It appears to be mathematical sequences and basic physics. I think they're trying to show they're intelligent." Czar's four eyes narrowed as he studied the primitive vessel. "How intelligent can they be if they fly a single ship into a war zone?" he asked. "This could be a spy sent by the Alliance." The thought made him angry. The Alliance had tried many tricks during the war, but sending a fake alien ship was a new low. He would not let them fool him. "Signal attack Squadron 7, Czar ordered. "Have them intercept and destroy that ship. We have a war to fight." 6 hegemony fighters broke away from the main fleet and moved toward the Independence. Their pilots were confident. The alien ship had no visible weapons and looked too primitive to be dangerous. This would be an easy kill. On the Independence, Ryan Cole watched the approaching fighters on his tactical screen. "Captain, 6 ships are heading straight for us. They're not responding to our messages." Jake Morrison felt his stomach drop. He had hoped the aliens would at least try to communicate before shooting. "How long until they reach us?" 2 minutes, sir," Ryan replied. "They're moving fast." Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was scared but ready. They had trained for dangerous situations, though nobody had prepared them for alien combat. "Amy, keep broadcasting our peaceful intentions," Jake ordered. "Lisa, give me everything the engines can handle. Ryan, power up our defensive systems." "Captain, our weapons are designed for asteroid mining and clearing debris," Ryan said. "They're not meant for fighting." "Then we'll have to make them work," Jake replied. "We didn't come this far to give up now." The hegemony fighters closed in fast. Their leader, a veteran pilot named Kixara, had fought in dozens of battles. He had never seen a ship designed like the human vessel, but he was not worried. The primitive craft would be destroyed in seconds. "All fighters attack formation," Kixara ordered. "Target their engines first, then finish them off." The fighters opened fire with precise energy beams, but something unexpected happened. The human ship's defensive systems activated, and a wall of projectile fire erupted from its hull. Ryan had activated every defensive gun on the Independence. The ship's mining lasers and debris clearance systems were not built for combat, but they fired much faster than alien weapons. Instead of carefully aimed energy beams, the human ship threw out hundreds of small projectiles every second. "What in the void is that?" Kixara shouted as his fighter shook from multiple impacts. He had never seen weapons that fired so quickly. His shields, designed to stop powerful energy beams, could not handle the constant rain of small projectiles. 2 fighters exploded immediately. The others scattered, trying to avoid the unexpected barrage. Kixara's own ship took heavy damage before he could pull away. "Retreat, retreat," he called to his remaining pilots. "That ship has weapons we've never seen before." On both alien flagships, commanders watched in shock as the primitive vessel drove off experienced fighters with ease. The human ship had not moved like a warship. It had not used advanced tactics. It had simply fired more bullets than anyone expected. Commander Czar stared at his tactical display. 6 of his best fighters had been defeated by one small ship. "How is this possible?" he demanded. Across the battlefield, Admiral Velnara was having similar thoughts. Her blue skin had turned pale as she watched the engagement. "Get me detailed scans of that ship," she ordered her science officer. Both fleets had stopped their preparations for battle. All attention was now focused on the mysterious human vessel that had just proven it was not as helpless as it looked. On the Independence, Jake's crew was celebrating their survival. "We did it," Ryan shouted. "We drove them off." But Jake was not celebrating. He knew they had just made the situation much more complicated. "Amy, are you getting any responses to our messages?" "Yes, sir," Amy replied. "Both fleets are trying to communicate with us now. The computer is working on translations." Dr. Helen Cruz looked up from her analysis station. "Captain, I'm studying the alien ship designs and their attack patterns. Something's not right here." "What do you mean?" Jake asked. Their weapons are incredibly precise, Helen explained. They could have destroyed us instantly if they wanted to. Instead, they used exactly the amount of force needed to disable our engines. These aliens fight very differently than humans do. Jake thought about this. Human military doctrine was simple: use overwhelming force to end fights quickly, but these aliens seem to prefer precise, controlled attacks. "Sir, I'm getting partial translations," Amy reported. "Both fleets are asking who we are and where we come from. They also want to know about our weapons." Admiral Nara was the first to establish clear communication. Her translation computers were more advanced than the hegemony's equipment. "Unknown vessel, this is Admiral Velnara of the Free Worlds Alliance. Please identify yourself and state your intentions." Jake took a deep breath. This was the moment humanity had dreamed about for centuries. "This is Captain Jake Morrison of the United Nations ship Independence. We come from the planet Earth and mean no harm to anyone." There was a long pause before Nara replied. "Earth, we have no record of this world. Are you refugees from the war?" "No," Jake answered. "We are explorers." "We didn't know there was a war here." Another pause. Then Velnara's voice came back, sounding puzzled. "You flew a single ship into an active battle zone to explore. Are all your people this brave or this foolish?" Before Jake could answer, Commander Czar's voice cut in. His translation system had finally worked. "Alliance ship Independence, you have interfered in hegemony military operations. Explain your presence immediately." Jake found himself talking to two alien commanders who had been trying to kill each other minutes earlier. Now they were both focused on him and his crew. "We're peaceful explorers," Jake repeated. "We were sent to study new star systems and hopefully meet other intelligent species." Commander Czar's laugh sounded strange through the translation system. "Peaceful? Your weapons just destroyed 2 of my fighters and damaged 4 others." Jake realized the aliens did not understand human defensive thinking. To them, the Independence's response had been an aggressive attack rather than desperate self-defense. The 3 ships hung in space, each trying to understand the others. Humanity had made first contact, but it was nothing like anyone had expected. Instead of peaceful meetings, they had stumbled into a war and immediately proven they could fight. None of them knew it yet, but this confused first encounter would change the galaxy forever. Dr. Helen Cruz worked at her science station, studying the data from their encounter with the alien fighters. Something about the alien ships bothered her, but she could not figure out what it was. Their technology was clearly more advanced than Earth's, yet they had been surprised by the Independence's simple defensive systems. "Captain, I need to show you something," Helen said to Jake Morrison. "The alien weapons are much more powerful than ours, but they use them very differently." Jake walked over to Helen's station. The screen showed recordings of the alien fighter attack. "What do you mean?" "Look at this," Helen pointed to the display. "When they fired at us, they aimed for our engines, not our crew areas. They were trying to disable us, not kill us. Even in the middle of a war, they're trying to minimize casualties." Jake frowned as he watched the attack again. Helen was right. The alien fighters could have destroyed the Independence completely, but they had held back. "That's not how humans fight wars," Jake said quietly. "Exactly," Helen replied. "Captain, I think we need to be very careful about what we tell them about Earth." Across the space between the fleets, Commander Czar was having an urgent meeting with his officers. The encounter with the human ship had changed everything. "Sir, we've analyzed their weapons," his science officer reported. "The projectile systems are primitive, but they fire at rates we've never seen. Where we might fire one precise shot, they fire hundreds of random ones." Czar's forearms moved nervously. "Random shots? That seems wasteful." "That's what I thought too, sir, but it works. Our shields can stop powerful energy beams, but they can't handle constant impacts from small projectiles. It's like they designed their weapons specifically to counter our defenses." On the Alliance flagship, Admiral Velnara was learning similar things from her own analysis team. "Admiral, the human ship is very strange," her chief engineer explained. "Every system seems to be built with fighting in mind. Their engines can change direction quickly for combat maneuvers. Their hull is much thicker than needed for exploration. Even their communications array is armored." Nara's blue skin turned darker as she thought about this. "Are you saying their exploration ship is actually a warship?" "Not exactly, Admiral. It appears to be a real exploration vessel, but it's built like everything they make might need to fight someday. This suggests their entire species thinks about warfare very differently than we do." Both alien commanders decided they needed to learn more about these humans. They opened a 3-way communication channel with Captain Morrison. "Captain Morrison," Admiral Velnara began, "we would like to understand your people better. Can you tell us about your home world?" Jake looked around his bridge. His crew was listening carefully. This conversation could determine how the galaxy saw humanity forever. Earth is a beautiful planet, Jake said. We have many different countries and peoples, but we're learning to work together. That's why we build ships like this one, to explore space as a united species. Commander Czar's voice came through the translator. How many countries do you have? About 200, Jake replied. There was a long silence. Finally, Czar spoke. 200 separate governments on one planet. How do you make decisions? We have an organization called the United Nations where all countries can meet and discuss problems, Jake explained. But what happens when countries disagree? Czar asked. Jake hesitated. This was the question he had been afraid of. Sometimes we have conflicts. We're still learning how to solve problems peacefully. Amy Foster, who had been monitoring the conversation, noticed something strange in the alien responses. Captain, she whispered, I don't think they understand what you mean by conflicts. Dr. Cruz had been studying the alien communication patterns, too. She had a terrible realization. Captain, I think their species may not have wars the way we do. This conflict between their fleets might be the first real war they've ever fought. Jake felt cold as he understood what Helen was saying. Humans had been fighting wars for thousands of years. These aliens were fighting their first real war and had been doing it for only 3 years. Captain Morrison, Velnara said, when you say conflicts, do you mean like the current war between the hegemony and the alliance? Well, yes, Jake replied carefully, but Earth has had many wars throughout our history. How many wars? Czar asked. Jake looked at Dr. Cruz, who had been studying Earth's military history. She shook her head sadly. We've never been able to count them all. Thousands, maybe tens of thousands over our recorded history. The silence that followed lasted for several minutes. When the aliens finally spoke, their voices sounded different. Captain Morrison, Admiral Nara said slowly, are you saying your species has been fighting continuous wars for your entire history? Not continuous, Jake said. We've had periods of peace too, but yes, warfare has been a constant part of human civilization. Commander Czar's voice sounded shocked. And you've survived as a species. We've done more than survive, Jake replied. We've grown stronger. War taught us to work together, to innovate, to never give up. It's part of who we are. Dr. Cruz was monitoring the alien fleet movements. Both groups of ships were moving away from each other and closer to the Independence, not in an attacking formation, but as if they wanted to be near the human ship for protection. Captain, Helen whispered, I think we just scared them. Amy was analyzing the alien communications. Sir, they're talking to each other now. The translation is rough, but I think they're discussing whether to continue their war. Jake realized what was happening. The aliens had been fighting for 3 years and thought it was the worst thing imaginable. Then humans had arrived and casually mentioned fighting thousands of wars over their entire history. Captain Morrison, Velnara said, if your people have so much experience with warfare, perhaps you could help us understand something. How do wars end? Jake thought about all the wars in Earth's history. Usually one side wins and the other side loses, or both sides get tired of fighting and make peace. But how do you make peace after so much violence? Czar asked. You forgive your enemies and try to build something better together, Jake replied. It's not easy, but it's possible. Both alien commanders were quiet for a long time. Finally, Velnara spoke. Captain Morrison, would you be willing to help us end our war? Jake looked at his crew. There were 45 humans in a single ship being asked to solve a galactic conflict. It should have been impossible. But Jake Morrison was human, and humans had been solving impossible problems through warfare and diplomacy for thousands of years. We'll try, he said. Captain Jake Morrison looked at the tactical display showing 400 alien warships spread across space. Both fleets had stopped moving toward each other and were now focused on his single ship. The weight of their request pressed down on him like a heavy stone. Captain, Dr. Helen Cruz said quietly, we're just explorers. We're not diplomats or peace negotiators. Jake nodded, but his mind was already working. Maybe that's exactly what they need, Helen. Someone who isn't part of their war. Sir, both fleets are repositioning, Amy Foster said, looking up from her communication station. They're not preparing to fight each other anymore. They're both moving closer to us. Ryan Cole checked his tactical readings. They're not in attack formation, Captain. It looks more like they want to be near us for some reason. Jake understood what was happening. The aliens had learned something about humanity that frightened them more than their enemies did. Two fleets that had been ready to destroy each other were now seeking protection from a single human ship. Open a channel to both commanders, Jake ordered. Admiral Nara's voice came through first. Captain Morrison, our governments have been fighting for 3 years. Millions have died. We've tried negotiations before, but they always fail. Why should we trust humans to succeed where we have failed? Commander Czar's translated voice followed. The Alliance speaks truth for once. We have tried to end this war many times. What can your people do that we cannot? Jake thought about Earth's long history of conflicts and peace treaties. Some had lasted for centuries. Others had failed within years, but humans had learned something important through all those wars. We understand both sides of war, Jake said. We know what it's like to fight and what it's like to lose. We know what it costs to win and what it costs to make peace. Maybe that experience can help. Dr. Cruz was studying the alien fleet formations on her screen. Captain, something else is happening. I'm detecting new ships approaching the system. Ryan checked his long-range sensors. Confirmed, sir. 4 ships coming in fast. They're using the same drive signature as us. Jake felt his heart jump. Earth had sent more ships. How long until they arrive? 3 days at their current speed, Ryan replied. Amy picked up a new transmission. Captain, it's Admiral Patricia Kane on the UNS Defiance. She wants to speak with you. Jake had served under Admiral Kane before joining the exploration program. She was tough, smart, and never gave up on anything she believed in. Put her through, Jake ordered. Admiral Kane's voice was clear and strong. Jake, we got your first reports about the alien contact. Earth has decided to support your mission with a small task force. What's your situation? Jake looked around his bridge. How could he explain that 45 humans were about to try ending a galactic war? Admiral, we've made contact with 2 alien civilizations currently at war with each other. They've asked us to help negotiate peace. There was a pause before Kane replied. Just to be clear, Captain, you're telling me that aliens are asking humans to help them stop fighting? Yes, ma'am, Jake said. Kane's laugh came through the speaker. Well, that's a first. We'll be there in 3 days. Try not to start any new wars before we arrive. Commander Czar had been listening to the exchange. Captain Morrison, more human ships are coming. Are they warships? Jake thought about how to answer. The UNS Defiance was more heavily armed than the Independence, but it was still primarily an exploration vessel. Their ships are like ours, Jake said, built for exploration but ready to defend themselves if needed. Admiral Velnara's voice carried a new tone of worry. How many human ships exist? Earth has built 5 deep space vessels so far, Jake replied honestly. We're a young species when it comes to space travel. Both alien commanders were quiet for several minutes. Jake wondered what they were thinking. Finally, Nara spoke. Captain Morrison, you say your people have fought thousands of wars. How many ships did you use in your largest space battles? Jake realized the aliens still did not understand human history. Admiral, until recently, humans had no space battles at all. All our wars were fought on our planet's surface. All of them? Czar asked. Thousands of wars on one world. Yes, Jake confirmed. We learned to fight and make peace while sharing the same small planet. That's why we understand both conflict and cooperation. The silence that followed was the longest yet. Jake could almost feel both alien fleets trying to process this information. Finally, Dr. Cruz spoke quietly. Captain, look at the tactical display. Jake looked at his screen and saw something amazing. Both alien fleets had completely stopped their battle preparations. Ships that had been in attack formations were now spread out in defensive positions, but not defending against each other. They were positioned as if they expected to defend together against some outside threat. Amy, what are they saying to each other? Jake asked. Amy listened to the alien communications and worked with the translation computer. Sir, they're discussing the possibility that there might be other species in the galaxy like humans, species that have been fighting wars for thousands of years. Jake understood. The aliens were not just worried about humans. They were worried about what other warlike species might exist in the galaxy. The hegemony and the alliance had found something more frightening than each other. Captain Morrison, Admiral Velnara said, if we accept your help in ending our war, what would you require from us? Jake thought carefully. This was the moment that would define humanity's relationship with the galaxy. Nothing, Jake said. We help because it's the right thing to do. That's what humans do when we're not fighting. Commander Czar's voice sounded puzzled. You want nothing in return, no territory, no resources, no trade agreements? We'd like to be friends, Jake replied. We'd like to learn from you and share what we know, but we won't force you to give us anything. Both alien commanders began talking to their fleets. Jake could not understand the conversations, but Amy was translating what she could. Sir, both sides are discussing a ceasefire, Amy reported. They want to negotiate, but they want human observers present during the talks. Jake looked at his crew. They had come to explore new worlds and had instead become humanity's first ambassadors to a galactic civilization. In 3 days, Admiral Kane would arrive with more ships and more crew members. Together, they would try to end a war that had killed millions. Tell them we accept, Jake said. The United Nations will help both sides find peace. As his words were translated and broadcast to both fleets, Jake watched 400 alien warships slowly power down their weapons. For the first time in 3 years, the space around the Kepler system was quiet. The Armada had frozen, not from fear of human weapons, but from the realization that humans understood something they did not. Humanity had spent thousands of years learning that wars must end, that enemies can become friends, and that peace is always worth fighting for. Captain Jake Morrison and his crew had done something impossible. They had ended a galactic war simply by being human.